Good morning. My name is Derry, and today I wanted to talk about Mermay and how Ripjaws is the best mermaid for Mermay. Now, what is Mermay? Mermay is an event during May where people celebrate the fiction and fantasy of mermaids. Those beautiful women with long tails that are reminiscent of a fish that just go swimming about. Yeah, those. There's also mermen too. Now, mermaids' mechanics are weird. There's a lot of inconsistency, or maybe inconsistency is the wrong word. There's a lot of different iterations of these sirens that prey upon the sea. There's many depictions where when doused with water, they'll be able to grow a fishtail, and there's depictions where they could just seamlessly begin walking on land and stay seaborne. There's depictions where they're born and locked to this entire wildlife in the sea, where there's other depictions where they're mostly landlocked and sometimes go into the ocean. It's very odd. Sometimes mermaids or sirens are even depicted to be either a monster or just a normal person befelt of a curse. It's kind of whack. A quick little fun fact is the Starbucks icon is actually a mermaid based off of the mermaid Melusine. Melusine was a lady who, whenever she got hit with water, she would grow a fishtail, and she was to be wed. She was completely, she was very beautiful, and her fiance was completely captivated, and she agreed to marry him as long as he didn't look at her at Saturdays, and, stayed, didn't get intervened with water at all. There's more to the story. I was looking up a bit more of her actual origins, and one of the mythos I saw, she was one of 3 triplets, and her mom married her dad with the notion that he wasn't allowed to see her have childbirth, and then, she had 3 kids, and he was like, "Oh, that sounds amazing," and ran in to see and broke his promise, and she was so devastated, so frustrated that she just left him. And then when the kids came of age, she told all of them, and her 2 sisters were like, that's not very nice. But I understand why dad wanted to see his kids. But Melusine, however, was in a notion of, wow, dad's a horrible person for breaking his promise. I should get revenge. And then I stopped reading because I was like, this fairy tale is going crazy. I'm not ready for it. Yes. The Little Mermaid is a more well-known fish-tailed presence that wasn't based on Melusine, but enriched the tradition of beautiful women with a fishtails, clad in seashell bras that are living in the ocean. Nowadays, there's also a good blend between the Little Mermaid and a bunch of mermen. It's a very, fish-encultured environment, just living under the sea. It's very interesting. I don't know if I would like to live under the sea. I think living under the sea would be such a headache. I feel like hunting for food would become even more annoying under the sea. You have to go so far just to, get some noms. Well, sharks make it look very fun. They just kind of go chomp, and they're satisfied for a bit. Maybe it wouldn't be that bad to go fishing. Well, would you consider it fishing? Is a mermaid or merman taking up their harpoons, scouring through the ocean floor, and just finding their next meal, would that be considered fishing? Because I just consider fishing the act of hunting fish. Oh, that's really fascinating to think about. Sorry, I was a lot more informative until this moment. Now I'm pondering. What an enigma of a situation. Yeah, I hadn't really considered that. I also wonder what kind of metals they're actually able to use. I saw someone come up with this beautiful concept of a mermaid knight, and I was like, that's really cool. But I noticed that they, are cladded in armor. And in my mind, that is very scary because metal rusts underwater, albeit slower than it would if it was able to get into the air after it got wet, because the rusting process happens when, oxygen is getting to metal that is wet. But it would still slowly erode over time. Silver, I know, is used as a metal to avoid that rusting process, and it's pretty valuable for that, as silver doesn't rust. It can decay and degrade in different ways, but if you're looking for a metal that just won't rust in that same way, silver's probably your best bet. That's one of the reasons in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the Zora domain is this beautiful, just wonderful, enchanting area, completely cladded in silver. All their weapons are silver, all their architecture is silver, and it's because silver doesn't erode like that. So that's pretty fun. Another interesting society of fish people. I really like the designs in Breath of the Wild for their Zora, which are essentially mermaids, but instead of a fish tail, they have fish heads, which is a bit wild. And it looks pretty cool. I think it's pretty nice. Everyone loves Sidon's design, and I don't blame him. He just has like this really cool whale or shark-like presence on his head. Or was it more like a dolphin? I'd have to look to clarify. But yeah, I think a lot of the general depictions of mermaids, while I definitely understand the allure and the fantasy and the attraction of, you know, the seashell bikini clad, beautiful hair wisping in the wind and flinging out of the water, you know, the Ariels of our world, or the sirens that prey upon men with their lovely voice and their attractive appearance to bring them to their downfall as they drown. I am personally a bigger fan of how Ben 10 approached it. That's not just because I have a heavy bias towards Ben 10, the hit show that came out in 2005. But there is a bit of bias there. I will say, I think their alien mermaid is a wonderful depiction of what I would think would be a very interesting creature design for mermaids, where the skin doesn't get access to as much immediate sunlight since it's so deep sea mermaid. And because of that, it's like this ghoulish white. You know, there's not a lot of pigment. The eyes have these heavy pupils that are, you know, accustomed to the darker climate. And it just seems so cool. It seems a lot more interesting and fascinating than these Barbied up mermaids. I think the giant jaw just being able to clamp down on fish is insane. A little bit of a weird thing though is they gave Ripjaws this anglerfish kind of aesthetic, which anglerfish are creepy and scary. I can understand why they thought, ooh, this looks kind of alien-y. That's awesome. I'm not sure if they were considering the fact that female anglerfish are the ones with the antenna, and then male anglerfish are like really tiny. They're just not, they're not really that sufficient in honesty. They're just kind of the passe for the female anglerfish. I don't want to spread misinformation, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details about anglerfish right now, but I'm not totally, I'm very confident that the female anglerfish is very big, and the male anglerfish just kind of like grope up with her, and they don't really live too long, with the exception of the biological need to help the female anglerfish prevail. Which is in line with a lot of how a bunch of insect groups are just kind of like, hey, we need to repopulate as fast as we can because we only live for like a day or two. But I don't think a male anglerfish is like that. I'm getting completely lost. Anyways, yes, Mermay is very awesome. Mermaids are really cool. My girlfriend loves mermaids as well. So if I didn't partake in this tradition, this drawing of a mermaid this month, I would very much get a bad look and I would regret it for the rest of my life. Maybe not that extreme, but it's a lot of fun. Just, there's a lot of concepts and fantasies that go along with the fiction of a mermaid. You either have the compelling sirens that use the tone of their voice, the more deep sea fantasy like Ripjaws from Ben 10, the tide between two worlds like Ariel, or the very, very petty Melusines. Either way, I'm curious to hear if you've done any fun mermaid art or what your thoughts are on mermaids. Beyond that, that's all I've really had to say for today. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and goodbye.